Legend of Korra Season 3, Episode 6 and 7, Old Wounds and Original Airbenders. Two great episodes. The first one, Episode 6, was, as I expected, tied right into last week's episode, Metal Clan. It was a really good one. We got to see some backstory about Lynn and how she grew up and her sister. We even get to see Toph. We didn't see Toph nearly as much as I thought we would. I figured it would be like them, like from really young little kids, how they grew up over time. But it was really like they were already basically split apart by the time they showed the flashbacks. So it was like Lynn was already in like newbie cop mode, and her sister was already a thief. She was with two other guys, and they were just stealing. And then the second flashback, and right before that one, I had thought about the fact that we never really learned where Lynn got those two scratches from. And of course, just as I was thinking that, that was the flashback where we get to see how she got the scratches, the two little scars on her face, and it was from her sister. That was really, those were really good flashbacks. I enjoyed them. It was just a really good episode, and Lynn had to deal with a lot of the crap that she dealt with, and how she thought her sister just did whatever she wanted and was a criminal, and she got away with it, which she kind of did when you think about it. She was the getaway driver in the robbery, and Toph had to basically, she retired, but Lynn knew that it was because she felt shame for uh, having a daughter who was a criminal. So I thought that was really interesting that her sister never really knew that, but as her sister told her, it was like, hey, I talked to mom, we already worked all this stuff out. If you weren't being you, you would have known that things are different, that I'm different now. But we got a really cool fight scene at the end of the episode. They eventually worked things out, and it was really cool. We got a little bit of side stuff with Korra actually learning how to metal bend. She got some little small techniques in there, so that was pretty cool. I can't wait to see her get advanced in that, which might not happen this season, but it would be really cool to see that. I think they're gonna be there maybe for another episode or two, who knows? But that was cool. I love when they introduced the fact that the little meteorites had a special component that made them easier. And when Korra was being shown the little meteorites, as soon as they were mentioned as meteorites, the first thing that came to my mind was like Sokka's space sword, and I was like, if she like, I would love to see her just do like a random blade shape. Like for some reason, it was like, here's the random shape I made, and it was the exact design of Sokka's sword, but much smaller. That would have been really cool. But of course, she just did an actual thing that makes way more sense. But it was cool that just they probably put that in as a reference to the to Sokka's old space sword, but that's the first thing I thought of. It was cool to see Korra do her little techniques. Bolan showed some clear interest. He had interest, as he mentioned, for years, but he can never really do it. So he's not exactly sure that he'll be able to, but I'm sure he'll eventually become a metal bender as well. And that'll be cool to see him have some new techniques and see him become a bit, I guess, more of a powerhouse. Because I always felt like when they get into fights with Mako and Bolin, I always thought Bolin was the stronger of the two, because, and it could just be the fact that it's earthbending and it's like just this style of earthbending. It's more forceful. It's like just hard, stern movement. So they have those techniques. And firebending isn't like that. It's a more fluid motion. It's closer to airbending and waterbending, where it's a bit more fluid. And earthbending is just, when you see the styles together, it's really, really clear. Like firebending has sort of the punching techniques, airbending is a lot of waving, and waterbending is very similar to that, and then earthbending is just like, you know, two arms up and you shoot something out of the ground and then push with both arms, or split something apart and then do two punches, stuff like that. So it'll be cool to see him do metal bending, because I always feel like metal bending, when we see it, is the more fluid version of earthbending. It's always very simple, or not simple movement, but it really slick movements, like we saw in the end fight of this, where Lynn's doing the more earth style stuff, where she's like picking up big chunks, and her sister is like using the wall and bending the wall around, and it just looks very different to me. But hopefully he'll be really cool in that aspect, and I'm sure Korra will be as well. She's the avatar, so she's just gonna learn it and they'll be fine. But I enjoyed that episode. We also got to see the villains, of course. Cool introduction for them. I love when they were just in like the little apartment. They're just talking. They were apparently there not only to find Korra, but also to just kill the president. Don't know why. They're villains, so they just kill people, I guess. But they didn't end up doing that. It was cool to actually see them all together because we get to see Sparky Sparky Boom Girl. We actually see her just as herself, not all tied up and cold. So that was cool. They had their getaway moment where she actually used her abilities. Which in that scene, I thought the funniest thing was that they had the woman with no arms driving. I was like, that's just funny to me. Like she's using water bending to drive, but that was cool. And then the end of the episode when they're just at the little campfire, which I thought made no sense because it looked like it was the middle of the day. They were all talking about how they have to find Korra, and then the leader. And I wish I could remember all their names, but I haven't really. They don't say them enough, and I don't really look into it honestly. The other people are talking, and he's just there. He's focusing, doing his meditation thing, and he knows that Korra is with the Metal Clan, and that blew my mind. I thought that was amazing, and I knew when he was focusing, like he's gonna know something. I didn't know if they were gonna show him do like this spirit technique that Jinora does, because that's what I was thinking. Like he's focusing, he's gonna have like he's gonna somehow gain that spirit technique because he, for some reason, is just incredibly powerful as an airbender. And I think it has to do with his mentality because before that he was clearly incredibly invested in air nomad philosophy and all the different gurus and stuff, and he knows stuff like Tenzin knows. He knows all the names and he knows the stories, and he can just give you a quote like that, like that's what this person thought, and that's why it makes sense. And so him as an airbender, I think he's already really advanced, and not only the fact that he's a great airbender through fighting, because he was clearly a great fighter beforehand, because he wouldn't know how to dodge and stuff out of nowhere. He knew how to do that stuff before he was an airbender, so he has the fighting components down, and then he has the philosophy down, so he probably already knew a lot of the techniques, and that would kind of explain why he was already so good and how he already had such great control. And I don't know, him finding Korra or knowing that she's in the Metal Clan, that was a really cool ending to the episode. So hopefully next week, that's what the episode's going to be. I'm hoping that's why they didn't give us a preview, because it's going to be that episode where they get there, and it'll be really cool. But it was definitely a great episode. I enjoyed it. Great ending to the episode. Can't wait to see them get to the Metal Clan. Don't see how they're going to have much of an attack plan. I mean, as cool as they are, they're considered the foremost dangerous people when they're together. So they might actually be dangerous, but I feel like if you're just going to the Metal Clan, it's like these people can just do this and you just get squished by the ground or something. But who knows? We'll get to see a great fight, I'm sure, but I'm really excited for that one. And then the original Airbenders episode was definitely a cool episode. It seemed like a one-shot episode. Korra was in the episode, but it really didn't focus on her, which I'm absolutely fine with. We get to see the other side of the conflict with Tenzin trying to figure out, how do I get all of these new airbenders to become air nomads, because there's a difference between the two. And it was a really good episode. He learned some lessons, Jinora learned lessons, Boomy learned lessons. Everybody learned something in this episode, and it was just a really good one. It was really silly, and it was silly and serious in moments, and it was just overall a really good episode. We had Tenzin telling them the story, and they're all bored. Boomy's just picking his nose, and I love that he has I don't remember the little spirit bunny's name, but he always has that bunny with him, and apparently he knows what the bunny's saying, or he gets the gist of it. So I enjoy that. That's always just really funny. Like whenever it's Boomy, that spirit is typically just right next to him or floating around him or something, so they don't ever really leave the bunny out. But it was a good episode. I feel like there's not much to say about it. There aren't too many specifics that are ultra important, aside from the random hunters who were trying to kill the bison and kidnapped Jinora and Kai. They were interesting characters. I thought when the guy was at the fire, he'd turn around, it would be someone that we knew from another series or something, based on the way they did it. It was like, it's the menacing fire, and he has the bison tail cloak on, and he's talking. I'm like, I don't recognize his voice. And he turned around, and I was trying to think, like, do I know this guy? But he was a random person, unless I still don't know who he was. So if he was someone, then you can let me know. But I'm pretty sure he was just a new random character. But they seemed interesting. They were earthbending hunters, and they hunted rare animals. We even get to learn the rumored fate of the former Earth King's bear, which is kind of messed up that his daughter ate his old bear. I was like, they said that, I was just like, that's just messed up. Like, it's probably the only bear in Avatar. I don't know, just It's not a turtle bear or a lion bear. It's just a bear. So it's been eaten, maybe, but they were hunting the bison. Kai and Jinora get captured, and then all the Airbenders, of course, finally band together. I love the one guy who had his hair shaved. First off, I love that scene when Tenzin was like, the other guy was like, I don't think I want to cut my hair or shave my head, and the guy was like, oh, it's optional anyway, and the guy was just, his mind was blown. But in the episode, or towards the end of the episode, when the net was shooting at him, he had like his little bald head spidey sense going off. That was really cool, and he didn't do what I thought. I thought he was just gonna use airbending to sort of blow the net, which is why they have holes anyway, so people can't do that. But I thought he would sort of do like sort of I guess a spinning twist, which would technically mess it up. But no, he did a perfect dodge. He just dodged it and hit. Um, I can't think of Tenzin's youngest or Tenzin's son, or I think he has two sons. I guess the boy that can talk, the one who's always like burping or farting or doing something silly. We actually see him fight in this episode. I thought that was cool. It was only three or four little, air hits, but it was really cool. He did some cool dodging. The other airbenders, they were all riding on the bubble of Tenzin's daughter, and they jumped off. She kept going, and the earthbender tried to hit them, and they both dodged and then pushed him into the rocks that he already had formed, knocked them out, and they defeated him. And Kai went in, and he saved Jinora and was about to beat up the guy, and Tenzin had to stop him, like, that's not what we do. And then he was, after having learned his lesson of being too harsh or being too boring, he said that's not what we do, but he realized the fact that he had good technique. So that was also a really good episode. I enjoyed that one. Nice little lesson learning, great heartfelt episode. Also, a lot of advancement for the characters as far as the air nomads in general. So I think as the episodes progress, they'll, after this episode, after us having seen how they sort of bonded together as a team and learned that the techniques that Tenzin teaches them works, and Tenzin learned that his techniques can't just be what Aang taught him. I think they'll be able to have the episodes where it's like, oh yeah, things are advancing just rapidly. So when we actually go back to the air nomads, they'll all be riding around on scooters. They'll all be going through the little boards in Republic City and stuff like that. So after us having seen the full episode where they had their struggle, we'll be able to get little bits and pieces throughout the rest of the season. And eventually they'll just be all great airbenders and air nomads, and who knows how many of them will get the tattoos. And I'd love to see, with Tenzin mentioning that getting your haircut was optional, I wonder if that means that technically everyone can get the tattoos. They just shave their head to get it, and then they just grow their hair back in, and that way everyone can have it. But you wouldn't really see it. You'd see the line going up to the arrow on their head, and you would see the little arrow on their forehead, like when Aang was in season 3 when he had the hair, and he had to wear the bandana because it covered up just the last little bit of his tattoo. So I'd love to see stuff like that, because I thought that was the coolest look that Aang had in Avatar, actually, when he had the hair and the cool bandana. But it would be cool to see the other characters get tattoos and then they still have their same look with them, and you just get the little arrow in the front. That would be nice. And some characters can go bald or change their hairstyle, so like maybe you see it a little bit because it's really low and it comes in or something like that. But good episode, a nice little heartfelt episode that strayed away from Korra, Mako, Bolin, and everything with the Metal Clan. It went from Earth to air, so it was a nice complete 180 with the elements. But I'm definitely excited for next week. I think next week is going to be the episode where the villains get to the Metal Clan, and we might even learn why they're going after Korra. They might get to her and they have their fight, and she says like, "Why the heck are you trying to kill me for no apparent reason?" And then hopefully we'll get our answer. But two great episodes. Of course, comment below. Let me know what you guys thought of them. Your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and what are you guys most excited for in these upcoming episodes? We are finally out of all of the episodes that have officially been spoiled with original Airbenders. That's the first episode, or first new episode that we've seen outside of the premiere that wasn't already leaked online. So even if you hadn't seen that, it's still officially the first episode that no one's actually seen. So that's pretty cool. So what are you guys really excited for in these upcoming episodes? What do you guys want to see? You want to see the villains get to Korra? Do you guys want to see more Cool. Air Nomads, what do you guys want to see throughout the rest of this season? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.